The message came at 6:12 p.m., right as the sky outside my window shifted from orange to that unsettling bruised purple. Like daylight was given up too early. I remember because I had just set a cup of tea beside me, and the steam fogged my glasses a little when my phone buzzed. I didn't expect anything unusual. For some stupid reason, I thought maybe someone was inviting me over, or checking on me, or remembering me, but when I opened the screen, when I saw my mother's name, and when I saw the first line of the text, I felt something inside me collapse quietly. The way a building falls inward before anyone hears the sound. We've agreed you're no longer part of the family. Don't come to any gatherings, no explanation, no context, not even my name. Just a verdict, stamped like a sentence handed down by a judge who never looked up from the paperwork. I didn't drop the phone. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there, feeling every cell in my body pause like even my blood didn't know where it was supposed to go now. And that's why I'm telling this story tonight. Because being cut off by one person hurts. Being cut off by a group hurts differently. But being cut off by everyone you once loved, all at once, for something you didn't do, that leaves a scar too deep for the skin to ever hide. Before I begin, if you've ever been betrayed, I hope you stay with me till the end. And please like and subscribe. Your support truly means more than you know. I wasn't always the girl who flinched when her phone lit up. I wasn't always the one who sat alone during holidays, wondering if someone whispered my name with guilt. Once, a long time ago, I belonged. Or at least I thought I did. The money they accused me of stealing wasn't small. It wasn't something you could misplace or forget to record. It was the emergency reserve account for our family's small business. Something my grandparents started decades ago. It wasn't fancy and it never made us rich, but it kept us stable, fed, protected. All of us depended on it at some point in our lives, and apparently, according to them, I was the one who drained it. I didn't know there even was a missing balance until the night they confronted me. I had gone to the family dinner thinking it would be like any other, stiff smiles, predictable routines, my mother correcting my posture with her eyes. But when I walked into the dining room, the air felt different, heavier, charged. Everyone was already seated. And they weren't talking. They weren't smiling. They were just staring at me. Waiting. I remember the way my father's jaw tightened. The way my sister folded her arms like she was bracing herself. The way my brother refused to look at me. Even the chairs seemed arranged in a way that made me feel smaller. We need to talk. My mother began. The phrase alone could have been harmless. But something about her tone felt rehearsed. Like the words had been practiced, she turned a printed bank statement toward me. Numbers circled in red, dates highlighted, withdrawals I'd never made. But before I could speak, before I could even blink, she said it. We know it was you. Everything after that felt like drowning with my eyes open. They didn't ask questions. They didn't want explanations. They didn't want truth. They wanted a villain. And I was the most convenient one. I tried to defend myself. But every word I said only made their faces harden more. My father's disappointment felt like a physical weight in the room. My sister's anger felt sharp, like she was slicing something invisible between us. And when I asked, begged to see the security footage or account access logs, they cut me off. My mother lifted her hand. You've disappointed us enough. We don't want this dragged out any further. The decision was already made. The entire family had apparently decided hours before I even walked through the door that night. I drove home numb, memorizing the way the streetlights blurred through my tears. I told myself they would calm down. They would investigate. They would apologize. But the next morning, I woke up to the message. We've agreed you're no longer part of the family. Don't come to any gatherings. I stared at those words long enough for my tea to go cold. Long enough for the sun to climb fully into the sky. Long enough for the numbness to settle into something quieter, heavier, colder. My mother didn't just send the message. She sent the verdict the rest of them were too cowardly to deliver themselves. I didn't respond. I didn't argue. I didn't run after them because part of me broke that day, but another part awakened. A part of me that wanted the truth. A part that wanted answers. A part that wanted justice. And slowly, painfully, I started noticing things I'd ignored before: whispers, timeline gaps, inconsistencies in their story. Someone had set me up. Someone had stolen the money. And someone, maybe more than one, needed me out of the way. But I didn't know the truth yet. I didn't know what they were hiding. I didn't know how deep the betrayal went. It would take months of silence. Months of cold nights, months of being erased, before I discovered the truth. And when I finally did, it was worse than I ever imagined. The days after the message felt unreal. Like I was walking through a life that no longer belonged to me. I kept expecting someone to knock on my door to tell me it was a misunderstanding, to say they'd found the real culprit, but no one came. Silence replaced every voice I once knew. Every ringtone that used to mean something meant nothing now. I kept my phone on loud even when I slept, but there were no calls, no missed messages, not even accidental ones. It was almost impressive how completely a family could erase someone who used to sit right beside them at every dinner, every birthday, every holiday. I tried to pretend I was okay. I went to work. I smiled at strangers. I stood in elevators and nodded at people who didn't know that my entire life had collapsed quietly, like a house losing its foundation without making a sound. But nights were different. Nights were cruel. Nights reminded me of everything I lost. Everything they threw away. Everything they blamed me for. I would sit on my couch, staring at the shadows on the walls, replaying that final family dinner over and over like a punishment I didn't ask for. The red circles on the bank statement. The coldness in their voices. The way my sister leaned back like she couldn't bear to be near me. The way my father couldn't even look at me when he said, "We expected better." Expected better from what? From a daughter who worked 2 jobs to help keep the business afloat. From someone who never missed a shift, who never took credit for it, who never complained when everyone else did. The betrayal seared itself into my chest so deeply that at times it felt like breathing hurt. Weeks passed. I stayed quiet, not because I was weak, but because I no longer trusted my own voice every time I tried to speak. Memories of their accusations tangled around my throat, tightening until the words dissolved. But something else grew inside me too. Something I didn't recognize at first. A small, burning ember. It wasn't anger. Not yet. Anger is loud, explosive. Wild. This was quieter, heavier. A slow building heat that settled deep inside my bones. Determination. If they wanted me gone, fine. If they wanted me erased, fine. If they wanted to believe I was the thief so they didn't have to look at the real one, fine. But deep down, I knew someone in that room was lying. Someone took the money. Someone forged the withdrawals. Someone set the stage weeks before the confrontation. And someone made sure the entire family believed them. There were too many details that didn't make sense. The timing, the dates of the withdrawals, the fact that I didn't even have access to the emergency account, unless someone else granted it to me. But logic didn't matter to them. They wanted someone to blame, someone to exile, someone to sacrifice for the greater good of the family's reputation. And I was the easiest option. The quiet one. The one who never caused trouble. The one who didn't fight back. The perfect scapegoat. Around the 3rd week, something strange happened. I walked into a grocery store and saw my aunt at the end of the aisle. She saw me instantly. Our eyes met and she panicked. She turned her cart around so fast the wheels squealed. She practically jogged down the aisle, her oversized purse banging against her side. Not a greeting. Not a glance, just fear, avoidance, like I was infected. That was when I realized something important. They weren't just angry. They weren't just disappointed. They were hiding something. A truth they were terrified I'd discover. I didn't know what it was yet. I didn't know how deep the lies went. But that moment changed me. If they were going to run from me, hide from me, erase me, then I'd stop being the girl who begged to be heard. I would become the girl who listened, observed, collected every piece of truth the way someone gathers broken glass carefully, silently, without showing the wounds, because I wasn't going to stay a victim in their story. One day, I would reclaim mine, but before the truth revealed itself, something else happened, something that almost broke me beyond repair. One evening after work, I received a call from an unknown number. I answered instinctively, hoping, wishing, praying it was someone reaching out. Hello? A pause, a breath, a tiny shuffle on the other end. Then the voice, soft, ashamed, shaking. My cousin. I shouldn't be calling, she whispered. But I overheard something. Something about the account. Something about who actually. The line cut off. Dead silence. No name. No details. No explanation. Just a single sentence, half swallowed by static. And yet, that sentence was enough to unravel everything. Enough to confirm that someone else had stolen the money. That someone else had orchestrated the lie. That someone else knew the truth. Enough to make my heart race. Enough to make my hands shake. Enough to make me certain I wasn't wrong. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't the thief. Someone else was. Someone very, very close. And whoever they were scared. Scared enough to silence anyone who tried to help me. That night, the ember inside me grew until it warmed my entire chest. Not anger. Not vengeance. Purpose. But the truth. I had no idea how dark the revelation would be, or how deeply it would cut. The first thing I learned after my family erased me was how quiet the world becomes when no one is watching anymore. There were no expectations left to meet. No dinners to attend where I had to prove my worth. No birthdays where I smiled through the ache of being overlooked. No holidays where love felt conditional. Just silence. And in that silence, something dangerous happened. I started remembering things I had been trained to forget. Before I begin, if you've ever been betrayed, I hope you stay with me till the end. And please like and subscribe. Your support truly means more than you know. When you're blamed for something you didn't do, your mind does strange things. At first, you replay every moment, desperate to find where you went wrong. Then you start doubting yourself. Then you start shrinking. But eventually, if the truth is on your side, something shifts. I began remembering how often I had been left alone with responsibilities no one else wanted. How often I was asked to handle it because I was reliable. How often money passed through my hands for the family business, not because I demanded control, but because no one else wanted the burden. I remembered the passwords I was given, the access I had, and the access I didn't. And I remembered the exact moment I lost access to the emergency account months before the money went missing. That detail mattered. At the time, I hadn't questioned it. My uncle had laughed it off, saying they were tightening security. My mother nodded along. My sister avoided my eyes. Back then, I trusted them. Now, trust felt like a language I no longer spoke. I started writing everything down. Dates, conversations, glances that lingered too long. Moments that didn't make sense at the time but screamed now. I didn't confront anyone. I didn't call. I didn't text. Because I was finally learning something they never expected me to learn. Power doesn't rush. It waits. Weeks passed. Then months. The business kept operating without me. Or at least, that's what they wanted me to believe. But cracks started forming. A supplier I'd worked closely with called me by accident one afternoon. He sounded confused. I thought you still handled the accounts, he said. They missed another payment. Another. Not the first. Not the second. Another. That word echoed in my head long after the call ended. I wasn't supposed to know that. They didn't want me to know that. The money I was accused of stealing. It wasn't just gone. It was being replaced. And then disappearing again. Someone wasn't just covering their tracks, they were drowning. I kept my distance, but I listened. old co-workers, family friends who didn't realize they were giving me pieces of the truth. I learned that arguments were breaking out behind closed doors. That blame was shifting. That stress was creeping into places it had never lived before, and slowly, one name kept surfacing, not loudly, not directly, but often enough to matter. My sister, the golden child, the one who could do no wrong, the one whose mistakes were always understandable, the one whose spending habits were quietly justified. The more I learned, the heavier my chest became. Because betrayal from one person hurts. But betrayal supported by everyone else? That breaks something sacred. I remembered how she defended herself during that family dinner. How quickly she'd agreed with the accusation before I could speak. How she never once looked surprised. She knew. And the family. They chose her. They always had. The truth didn't come all at once. It came in fragments, emails forwarded by mistake, in voices that didn't add up. Whispers passed through mutual friends, each piece sharpened the picture. She had access. She had motive. She had protection, and I had been sacrificed so the family wouldn't have to face the truth. One night, sitting alone in my apartment, I realized something that made my hands tremble. They didn't just remove me because they believed I stole the money. They removed me because it was easier than admitting they were wrong. Easier than confronting their favorite. Easier than admitting failure. Easier than apologizing. I wasn't exiled because I was guilty. I was exiled because I was expendable. That realization hurt more than the accusation ever did, but it also freed me. Because once you stop hoping for justice from people who benefit from your silence, you stop needing their permission to heal. I didn't want revenge, not the loud kind. I didn't want to humiliate them. I wanted something deeper. I wanted truth to find them when they least expected it, and it would, because lies rot quietly, slowly, from the inside, and they had no idea what was coming. Asterisk. The truth didn't arrive with shouting or chaos. It came the way it always does, quietly, patiently. After everyone thought the worst had already passed, before I begin. If you've ever been betrayed, I hope you stay with me till the end. And please like and subscribe. Your support truly means more than you know. By the time the family business began unraveling, I had already stopped watching closely. I'd learned that obsessing over their downfall wouldn't heal me. But the truth has a way of traveling, even when you turn your back. An audit was requested. Then another question surfaced that could no longer be silenced with glares or family meetings behind closed doors. Numbers that never added up before suddenly made sense, and my name wasn't there. Hers was. My sister's withdrawals appeared on statements I had never seen. Approvals traced back to her email. Signatures matched hers, not mine. No one called to tell me this. No one rushed to apologize. I found out through silence. Through the sudden way people stopped defending her. Through the awkward pauses when my name came up in conversations I wasn't part of. Through the careful way relatives began asking mutual friends how I was doing. Without asking me directly, that hurt more than I expected. Not because I needed an apology, but because it confirmed what I had always feared. They knew they were wrong. And they were ashamed. Months passed. Life became simpler in ways I hadn't expected. I built routines that didn't include dread. I made decisions without wondering if they'd be approved. I learned what it felt like to exist without constantly proving my worth. Then the messages came, one by one. Short, careful, fragile. We didn't know. We were confused. We miss you. None of them said sorry. Not really. And I realized something painful but freeing. An apology doesn't heal you if it's meant to comfort the person who hurt you. I didn't respond right away. When my mother finally reached out directly, her voice was tired, smaller than I remembered. She spoke like someone afraid of saying the wrong thing. I just wanted to see how you are, she said. I told her the truth. I'm okay, and I was, not because they were wronged, But because I had learned to stand without them, I didn't return to family gatherings. I didn't ask for my place back because my revenge wasn't exposure. It wasn't humiliation. It was distance. It was peace. It was becoming someone whose life moved forward without needing closure from people who couldn't face what they'd done sometimes. I wonder if they regret it, if my absence still echoes during holidays, if they realize what they lost wasn't money, but trust. But I don't wait for the answer anymore. They decided I was no longer part of the family. And in doing so, they taught me how to choose myself.